So this is my confession video, coming out video, I suppose. Nobody's ever gonna see this because I have 0 subscribers and I keep my channel quite hidden from people I know, except for one video of my friend getting extremely drunk and throwing up in my sink. So that being bisexual, homosexual was just the only really options that there were, and I always just thought that, you know, the more common sexualities were all that was around, really. I never really put much thought into my own sexuality. I was never particularly bothered about gender, but I do have kind of a phobia of asking out women because I'm just quite intimidated by other women. But I have dated women, but nothing serious. But then I saw something about demisexuality, and I was like, well, what's that? I've never heard of that. Let's look that up on Google. And then I discovered everything about different asexualities and the spectrum of sexuality. Because I knew what asexuality was, sort of. I'd heard of it, but it didn't apply to me because I was like, well, I mean, I have experienced sexual attraction, but well, it was very rare that I did, and it was only when I was very in love with the person. So for me, I've only experienced sexual attraction 3 times, because I've only been in love 3 times. All 3 of those people were sexual people, and my relationships didn't work out for a variety of reasons, but sex was a big part of that. I never really thought about my sexuality in regards to sex before, because I actually had a medical condition which made any form of penetration the most insufferably painful thing that could happen to me. I mean, I still had sex, to the surprise of my doctor. He was quite shocked. But it was the most painful experience of my entire life, and I don't talk openly about it, which is a terrible thing, really, because women don't talk about it, and it does affect a lot of women. A lot of women will suffer varying types of pain throughout their lifetime during penetration. For me, I had a problem with one of the muscles, which prevented me from having regular penetration. Well, it kind of covered a large section of the opening, so yeah, it was horrible. And to have sex, I would have to be, you know, held down, and my mouth would be covered because I would be screaming. So some people like that, but I didn't enjoy that at all. So, but I still did that because I always accepted it as a given that the way our culture works now is that sex is expected of you. It's kind of, if you want to be in a romantic relationship with someone, you have to give them that. Or the sexual thinking that I always encountered was, why would I be with you when I could be in a relationship with someone I can have sex with? So, and even then, when they did, it wasn't that great for them because I'm just suffering, and it was still very difficult. So I never really thought about my sexuality. I just assumed that I was bisexual because I often experienced, crushes and romantic attraction. I suppose I'm still not entirely clear on the terms and definitions and everything. But yeah, so I'm not sure whether the definition of demisexuality fits me quite right. I feel like there's some kind of difference between grey asexuality and demisexuality as I understand, but I'm not entirely clear on that. I'm still pretty new to this and I'm figuring it out. I haven't come out to anyone. I did tell my friend that I was dating someone who is asexual. I'm not really sure if we're dating. He's not very clear on what he wants or what is going on really, and to be honest, I'm really not into this. Like, this particular person, he's nice and everything, but it's just we don't click on any sort of level. But I did try to tell my friend about that, and his reaction was quite funny. He sent me a text. Was, how can you be asexual? And I was like, what do you mean? In referring to what is asexuality? And I was like, sexuality is a spectrum. And he just put ... and he didn't reply to me after that. So yeah, definitely don't think I'd be ready to come out anytime soon to family and friends. I don't really have friends anymore. I used to, but a lot of complicated things led to me being kind of alone. So yeah, I think sexuality is a complicated issue. That's not really an issue, but it's a complicated thing that we don't discuss clearly. There's no division between sexuality and sex. And in today's modern culture, it seems like the central thing, the end game is sex. That's what the goal is now. I mean, that's what Tinder is for, apparently. And being that I did have issues having sex in the past, but sex is such a huge part of the culture. I built this fabulous persona for myself. I have quite the reputation as being very risky and promiscuous and quite crass and forward about things, which is quite funny because I've not had that many relationships and that many sexual partners. I'm not gonna say the number, but it's less than 10. It's not what I would consider a lot. Some people might. I've always been kind of interested in sex, not in a sexual way. It's more curiosity and like being able to say I've done this and I've done that, and ticking things off a kind of sexual bucket list. And there are still things I would quite like to tick off, although I would prefer really not to have sex, or I could avoid it unless I was maybe really in love with someone. That might change my opinion, I guess. But yeah, it kind of hit me like a brick wall reading about asexuality and then joining Avon and asexualistic and trying to really figure myself out. I'm still getting there, which is crazy because I'm 23 and I just turned 23 like a couple weeks ago. So yeah, I was just I didn't see it coming. I thought I had myself figured out. I'm a very together person, but I'm always changing, and I think I'm quite a diverse person in my interests and my knowledge. So it's good to grow as a person, I guess, and to always be learning new things about yourself. But like when it's just sexuality, it's quite a surprise. So, and I think if it were something, it would be easier to come out to family and friends, I think, and to just explain. I'm not good at explaining things to people, really. You know, if they don't already have a basic understanding, I find it quite difficult to explain without going kind of metaphorical and philosophical and going off on tangents. And I think a lot of the people that I know, even though they're open to, a lot of them are open to, multicultural things and the accepting of people of all different sexualities. I think they would find this, I don't think they would believe it, like they wouldn't think it was a real thing. And of course I would have to give up my ridiculous reputation as, I kind of felt like I needed to make the video just so that I could say it out loud and kind of confirm it to the world, to myself, even though most of the videos I kind of make private, so nobody would see them anyway, and I have no subscribers, so nobody else is gonna see it, I don't think. But yeah, I kind of feel very alone, even though there's this huge community of people. It's not, I don't feel alone as in there's no one else like me. I feel alone as in I don't have anyone to share it with. I don't have anyone to, I had enough trouble dating when I was dating sexual people. The concept of, trying to find love with an asexual person or a demisexual person or a sexual person still is complicated. As if I didn't have enough complicated things. At least with sexual partners, you know where they stand. Dating sexual men can be quite easy because you know what they want. I kind of always had it as a trade-off. If I wanted to be with someone romantically, I understood that they would require sex, and even if they wanted to use me for sex, I wouldn't give them that unless they gave me the relationship that I wanted with them. So I'm not sure if that's emotional blackmail. Yeah.